All right, Matt. So once again, we are back and first episode of 2025, starting off on a little bit of, I guess, a somber mood, you could say, with an unfortunate week of football for, well, really both of us. Um, obviously the Cowboys were kind of out of it, but Dolphins officially eliminated from the playoffs with the regular season coming to an end. Uh, yeah, Bo Nix wasn't going to lose to second and third string players, I
Carson Wentz,
guess.
man. I
Shocker.
thought I had faith.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I don't know if really the Chiefs were scared of the Dolphins getting in, but they were definitely scared of the Bengals getting in. So I don't know if I'm not going to say that's what they were talking about in their locker room or front office or whatever, but I can assure you, no one in the AFC wants to see the Bengals right now, and no one will until this next football season coming up. So,
Yep. Josh Allen was probably the happiest guy, honestly.
yeah, probably doesn't have to worry about. Well, we'll talk about some of our predictions for the wild card round as we move on here. But yeah, Matt, why don't we start off? We can just start with our typical segment of the Cowboys, even though it's a little bit shorter. But even the Cowboys couldn't quite end the season on a high note either.
No,
Shout
they
out
did.
Marcus, but
They did.
oh, I guess you're right. Actually,
They
yeah.
did because
Thank you to
we
Marcus.
got a higher draft pick.
Yeah, and you guys actually snaked one. You're one pick before the Dolphins now, so I already know I'm gonna be pissed off at whatever pick the Cowboys take because I guarantee you it's gonna be the player that I want in the draft. So now I got to worry about that come April.
Yep.
But
Thank
anyway,
you, Marcus.
yeah. So I'll let you get your Cowboys thing off before I give kind of the Dolphins season breakdown recap.
Well, I'm not gonna really break down this game because there really is nothing to break down. They weren't playing for anything. But shout out Marcus Mariota, I guess. I mean, you'll probably talk about him later. But Jaden Daniels plays a half of football, looks terrible. Marcus comes in, plays the second half. They score three touchdowns with him. So I mean, I don't know what was going on. Um, but thank you, Marcus, for going off because, like I said, all I cared about was the draft pick at this point. So shout out Marcus. The downside of this game, my boy Cooper Rush did not get the start. Trey Lance got the start, and he lost out on $250,000 because his owner uh, claims that he did not know
Ooh,
that Cooper Rush could not get a potential incentive, potential $250,000 for him and his family. That is a bunch of baloney. I don't believe anything that Jerry says this day and age. But the only thing that really upset me is one, I love Cooper Rush. Wanted to see him, ball out one more time. But if this whole narrative of like, Cooper Rush gives yourself the best chance to win, why all of a sudden does he get benched now? Like, if he got benched last week when we were actually out of contention, then okay, I can kind of see it. But if he's playing all the way through, just let him play all the way through. And with all these things coming up, I look at the NFL, I see Mike Evans get 1,000 yards again, by the way. Um, so obviously organizations pay attention to that kind of thing. And if you're good, you're going to help the player get get his thing, get his bag. And it's not like 250,000 is a lot of money for the Dallas Cowboys. And it's like the Mike Evans example too. They're passing the ball when all they can do is take a knee to ensure a division title. They're throwing the ball to get Mike Evans the record with the risk that maybe there's a strip sack, a pick six, and that could end their season potentially. But they still try to get their boy 1,000 yards, get him that incentive, get him the record. I mean, it was a very low risk pass. So You know, I think it was understandable. But, yet the Cowboys, we can't just get Cooper Rush on the field. It's just a snaps thing. He doesn't even have to play well. It's just hike the ball and hand it off. I mean, I don't know. I don't like that at all. That's the part that was really sour. So I'm glad that we lost in the way that we did, not for the players' sake, but to stick it to the owner. I think that is just what a way to go out. You bench Cooper Rush, you don't let him get his incentive for really any player, even if it wasn't Cooper Rush. And you lose to Marcus on a last second touchdown. Good for you, Jerry. Rot with that into the offseason. And I could say a lot of nasty words, but I'm not going to do that. But that's it. I'm glad the season is over because this was probably one of the most painful Cowboy seasons in recent memory. So thank goodness it is over. I am done talking about this team
Well,
until free agency.
yeah, at least until free agency and the draft, when the optimism and the hope can
The
blossom once
Cowboys
again.
cycle starts up. I forget about the season that happened, and then we'll be on our Super Bowl run. Here we go.
Yep, exactly. So I guess, well, that was pretty short.
Yeah, I mean, we were out of the play. I did my season recap last week, and honestly, I wasn't going to talk about them this week, but it just really upset me that my boy Cooper Rush missed out on two hundred fifty
That's
thousand
fair.
dollars
That
because
is messed
his
up.
owner is a cheapskate and
I
messed up.
Yeah, that's messed up. Um, I'm with you there. Yeah, Cooper, you deserve the money. He's been solid
Yeah.
this year.
If you leave Coop, I understand, but if you leave, you better be a starter.
Well, yeah,
Go to
we'll
the
see about that.
Giants.
Hey, he could come back up too. That's all I'm saying. But
Yeah, you guys got Snoop Huntley.
well, getting to that. So obviously we know now playoffs are set, wild card round, schedule is out there, and the Dolphins come up short. Kind of sad. I mean, was watching, tracking both games anyway, and you know, it was 21-0 Denver, and I was like, well, there goes the season anyway. But hey, you know what? Maybe Mike, for your sake, right? Let's keep that winning record going and at least go into the season or into the off season, I should say, on a high note. Playing against a divisional rival on the road, um, right? Let's go get a win and set us up for next year. Although in hindsight, like you said, it's probably better that they lost. Good for draft position since they weren't going to make it anyway. But man, I think this game specifically just has so many things that you can point to and say just really epitomizes the Mike McDaniel era so far um, with the Miami Dolphins. And I mean, obviously not in control of their own destiny, but still, give yourself a chance by winning this game. And you're playing a Jets team that had 4 wins all year, hadn't looked good. We don't know what is next for Rodgers and Adams, and Garrett Wilson is unhappy, and people are, it's the Jets, right? But go in, first of all, no Tua in a big game once again, right? Um, been kind of the trend over the past, really the course of his career, excluding last year. But no Tua, and have to rely on our backup quarterback. Tyler Huntley played a good game last week, but I mean, I think he had 3 or 4 turnovers in this one. And the one that really killed me, and I kind of figured we were going to lose, was right before the half. We're down, I think it's 15-6 at that point, and we have a chance to go get at least three. We're in field goal range. Jason Sanders has been lights out. So we're in position to get at least three, cut it to a 1-score game. And pressure comes in, obviously, because the O line hasn't been very good, this year. So pressure comes in, makes an ill advised throw over the middle, pick, takes us out of, turnover. There goes 3 points, going to the half with zero momentum. And it just kind of felt like it was wraps from there. I know they made a little run late in the fourth quarter with Achan. But even looking at some of the stats, I mean, Devon, he busted a couple big ones, but he only had 11 carries, 121 yards, right? So non-committal to the run game. Um, Threw the ball 41 times, took 4 sacks. Uh, just ugly, sad way to go out. Um, Tyreek not involved, Jalen really not involved, and the season kind of ends with a dud, really. Um, Surprising aftermath, obviously. Talk about Tyreek in a little bit here, but I think just to first do a quick reflection on the season, as honestly, I'll say it, I am officially going to be a Dolphins fan, even if like, and I'll get to this later, if they cut Tua or trade Tua or whatever it is, I'm gonna stick with the Dolphins.
Gonna hold you accountable for that.
I'm
It's
still
on
going
record.
I am still going to root for Tua if he goes to a different team. Don't get me wrong. Same as I do with Marcus, and if Dylan gets a shot, in the league at some point, I will always be heavy rooting for them. But um, I think I've just invested so much into this team like over the past couple of years that I've just naturally become a Dolphins fan. Like honestly, from being on the Dolphins side of Twitter and all that. So, just reflecting on the season, Matt, it starts and ends with, to me, two guys. Well, you could say three guys. Obviously Chris Greer, the GM, Mike McDaniel, and QB1, right? So starting with Chris Greer, like him and Mike are going to keep their jobs. Official statement from Stephen Ross. He believes that this team, deserves some continuity and a chance to grow a culture and organization from that standpoint. So their jobs are going to be safe. Um, you know, Honestly, with Chris Greer, he has, to his credit, he hits on some guys, right? Zach Sealer, Calais Campbell, a nice signing this offseason. Chop Robinson, who really had a second half turnaround this year. Right? You go out and get guys like Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek when he was putting up numbers, and you draft some studs like Jalen Waddle, right? But then there's also some whiffs. That is definitely, you know, can't forget about those. The offensive line has been bad this year. Um, I don't care what PFF says, right? Like if you watch this team with your own eyes, Tyler Huntley takes 4 sacks. I think the previous week he took like 5 sacks or something. The reason Tua doesn't take the sacks, we talk about it over and over. He gets the ball out fast, fastest in the league. So that can help mitigate and hide some of the problems of a poor offensive line. Rushing game this year compared to last year, I mean, just abysmal. For being honest, Raheem Mostert, 20 touchdowns last year. Devon Acham, popping off as a rookie, and we didn't see anything close to that type of success running the ball. Was completely one dimensional. Screen passes behind the line. These quick throws that defenses just figured out what we're gonna do, right? 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, historically bad with Mike McDaniel. Um, can't play any kind of power football. So I don't know. I do think that it's gonna have some kind of culture change is gonna have to come from the top. But yeah, Chris Greer, a lot of people are really unhappy with him. I will give him a little bit of a pass, even though like Odell, Shaq Barrett, complete whiffs. He has done some good to, bolster this team. And I really liked. I don't know who was really involved in it, but Anthony Weaver, our defensive coordinator, had a great year. I thought he's probably gone, for being honest, probably going to be a head coach somewhere in the league next year. So best of luck to him. Um, I was a little bit critical of him at times this year, but overall, I thought he did a really good job with that unit, considering all the injuries they faced. Um, then moving on, Mike McDaniel. A little sad to see a bit of a regression in, I'll say, play calling, as well as the scheme, and lack of adaptability because, that was so much of the excitement when he joined the organization, right? The Shanahan tree, how successful he was with the 49ers, bringing that offense, and it looked good for the first, these past 2 years. Um, Before this year, explosive plays downfield, chunk plays, pushing the ball downfield, run game explosive, creative, right? This year, not as much. Teams figuring out how to deal with the lateral quickness of these players, figuring out how to cover up those windows that Tua likes to hit over the middle, and really didn't see a lot of adaptability to kind of counter how defenses were playing them. Um, Tua was big on just completing the ball this year, right? Not always going for the home run, but taking the checkdowns when you can, and that's great. But at a certain point, when the defense can kind of play one dimensional and know how you're gonna, you can't run the ball. You have to throw it short and quick, and that takes away some of the windows. So I think that was a little bit of the problem there. And then I think going into next season, what I want to see is, I think there's nothing wrong with keeping those plays of the timing throws that, Tua has been so good at. I think that's a really good concept to have. But at the same time, there needs to be an adaptability to be able to say, we need to simplify the offense to a certain degree. Like, get back to the roots of football, right? Won and loss in the trenches. Go get some offensive, linemen wherever it is in the draft, free agency, whatever it's going to be, and really build, in to out rather than we've kind of seen they are going out to in, right? So I think we go back and reestablish that offensive line, get back to a little bit more of the downhill running schemes. Maybe move Devon Achan more out to a flex, kind of like a Debo-esque role when he had his success, wide receiver, running back. Use him as a weapon because we've seen Devon be really good in that regard this year, catching the ball from the slot, from the receiver position. So would like to see that and the play calling. Not only getting the plays in, I'm so sick of seeing them burn timeouts early in halves because they're going to take a delay of game. Like, we just can't be having that in year three. If it's relinquish play calling, so be it. If it's figure out a better system, to get the plays out, so be it. Whatever it is, there needs to be better communication from play caller to quarterback, getting guys set, and even giving him a chance. Because I don't even know how much time like Tua has to be able to even call an audible, right? If you're breaking the huddle with 10 seconds every single time, and you're relying on guys to go then get set, and you're probably gonna have a motion, right? That doesn't really give Tua a chance to go look at the defense, say, hey, this play is not gonna work. Let's audible to our second play, right? That really gives him no chance whatsoever. It's like, okay, well, we're gonna break the huddle. Whatever defense are playing, we're just gonna have to run this play because I don't have time to make any adjustments. So I don't know if that's gonna be maybe something they look to do next year. I would like to get to more of a traditional, yeah, let's have a couple plays, trust our franchise quarterback that we just extended to go out there pre-snap, take a look, re-examine, and be more of that field general rather than just quote unquote a game manager and we're just going to stick to the script, right? Because I think defenses are too good, evolving too fast to be able to just have one set play going out there. So like I said, I know it's not like that all the time, but I've just seen it too much watching the games where he doesn't have time to really make any changes. And then getting to Tua, obviously, rough year for him injury wise. Not sure what's going on with the hip, but can't deny that concussion that they had earlier, week, what was it, 2, 3, against the Bills was pretty much felt like the season was over. right? Um, Once they officially placed him on IR and they're only able to win 1 out of 3 games. I mean, really, if they go 3-1 in those games, they're in the playoffs right now, right? And you can imagine with the teams that they played through that 4 game stretch could have easily gone 4-0. I mean, um, Seahawks, who have been up and down this whole year, the Titans, who are just abysmal, they dropped, 12 points against the Titans, beat the Patriots, and then the Colts, you lose to the Colts 16-10. No offense whatsoever. So you imagine, even if they go 2-2, they still have a chance to make the playoffs, right? Um, and then yeah, like it just gotta stay healthy, gotta be available. You as a franchise guy, if that means second game of the season, I'm not gonna dive headfirst and try to pick up a first down 21 points. Like, okay, like as much as it sucks, um, that's just how we're gonna have to play from now on. And even the Texans game, I don't know if it was the hit that triggered this hip injury thing. But if it was, that's another instance trying to make a play, diving head first, and we get punished for it, right? So essentially, if that was the play, that's 2 head first dives that result in a loss of 6 games played. Crucial games. So obviously there's that injury thing we need to address. I don't know if it's put the weight back on and become less mobile, right? Because last year he played all the games. He was definitely bigger, less mobile, but played all the games. So I don't know. That's a discussion that they're gonna have to have. But I will say, play wise, when he did play, started off the season a little shake. Like, oh, it was okay that Jags game. Then when he came back from his injury, I thought he looked really good. The Cardinals and the Bills game, not going to put those losses on him. I thought him and the offense were operating really well. Then they go on the nice little win streak to get them back into it. Packers game, yeah, could have played better, but I thought overall he did okay. Um, some questionable decisions again, I think, from play calls from Mike in that one. But really, his one real bad game was against the Texans. I thought, like I said, now I don't know how much this hip injury affected his ability, but um, when we really needed, a win in a favorable situation, he puts up probably the worst game of his career, like I said at the time. So just got to be better. Got to be better in the big clutch moments. That's, I mean, what it's going to come down to. Obviously, he's good enough to start and play in this league. I don't think there's any doubt, from anyone across the league about his ability to play. And be a franchise guy in this league. I would still put him when healthy in that same category as a Jared Goff, as a Brock Purdy, higher than a Kirk Cousins per se, but definitely good enough to be one of those franchise guys you can win with the right structure and right pieces around him. So that's kind of, my take on that part of the season. Got to shout out Jason Sanders. MVP was a little bit hard, but I think it's got to be Devon Achane for me. Just looked the most dynamic and was the most consistent, at least on offense, and then on defense, it's got to be my guy Zach Sealer. Really was the glue of that defense, and the 2 games he missed this year with the eye poke were that Bills and Cardinals game, and you could just see night and day how much one guy makes on that interior defense. So he was going to be my defensive MVP, and then Jason Sanders, hell of a year for him, kicking the ball. But Jake Bailey, I'm sorry, you got to go. Our punter, like, dude is just not. I'm sorry, I was spoiled with the Thomas Morstead before, but I think we really need to go and get a different punter this year, guys. I'm
You
sorry.
need a $9 million punter.
Now, okay, maybe not 9 mil, but I'll definitely take an upgrade at that punter position, Matt. So, I mean, I tried to keep it relatively quick. I didn't want to ramble too much on the season itself. I really do think the injury, to Tua once again essentially derailed the season. Looking back when he was in there playing against subpar teams, it was fine. He did well. The Offense operated really well, but there's no doubt that there's going to need to be organizational changes heading into next season. So just to quickly do my, early, I don't even want to say wish list, but an early observation of things that need to be changed next season. We'll start off with the obvious one, the elephant in the room, and that's Tyreek Hill. Um, yeah, I think I've been blessed to, have Tyreek as the top playmaker on this team, but everything comes to an end. And honestly, it's time. It's time for him to not be on this team for the 25-26 season. Um, I it's just the comments post game, he's emotional. I get that, right? But as one of the leaders on this team, right, under contract, I might add, if you're going to be saying, making that kind of comments, that's part of the culture change that we need to fix, right? We have guys like Alec Ingold. We have guys like Calais Campbell, who's only been here a year, but those are the kind of guys I want as foundational leaders on this team. And as much as I love Tyreek the player, some of his antics off the field, I felt like could be a little bit distracting at times. And even his play this year, I think regressed a little bit. I think he was a little bit nicked up, had some lingering injuries, where there was the wrist or ankle or whatever it was. You could kind of tell though that the Tyreek this year didn't have that same cheetah explosiveness after the catch. Because I mean, sometimes we're so used to seeing him catch a slant and house it, right? Just run past literally everyone. But this year, I don't know. It just like he's still fast, obviously, but didn't have that explosive, like, scariness of when the ball's in his hands, you feel like, oh, he can break one at any time. So I think, yeah, maybe the talent is starting to just catch up or fade a little bit. And I think that's going to be a little bit hard to justify the contract. Now, with that being said, how are they going to dump him? I don't know. The cut is going to be real tough to eat to dead cap. Probably going to have to look
We'll
for a
take him.
trade. And you know what, Matt? Please take him, because knowing Jerry, he's going to give us like a second rounder and a fourth or something. And I will be more than willing to take that, because I feel like Jerry will
Okay,
overpay.
I would kind of take that. A second and a fourth for Tyreek.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, considering what like Amari went for back in the day, and what Devontae went for, I don't think he's going to be a first at this point, with the season that he had. But a second and a third or fourth, I would be honestly more than happy to go out, and if the Dolphins could do that. A couple names they probably need to look at in free agency, but yeah, I just think that it's time for a cultural reset. But I will say I won't leave the possibility of him returning out. Like, it's Tyreek, right? Like, he's just gonna say whatever's on his mind, however he's feeling in that moment. He's just kind of an emotional guy. But I do think that, listening to what his teammates have said about him, at least as a football guy in the locker room, like, he wants to win. He's a competitor, he wants to win. But even to Tyreek's own words this year, right? He wasn't practicing on Wednesdays. He was taking vet rest, and he's saying, "Oh, I need to go practice more." Like, and you don't want to be hearing that in week 15, 16 of the season. Like, yeah, okay, time to practice more. What is one day of practice a week going to do, 15 weeks into the season, if that's your excuse for not being on time with Tua? So, I'm not going to rule it out. But if things, currently stand and the relationship dissolves a little bit, yeah, I do think that, hey, sometimes in football, as we've seen, looking at a team like the Detroit Lions, how much a culture shift can be beneficial for your team, right? Until something changes, nothing's going to change, point blank and period. So,
Couldn't be more true to my team.
right. And
Oh
so,
my goodness.
and I really do think, Matt, when you look at kind of the big three sports that we cover, baseball, basketball, football, don't get me wrong, organizational, structure and kind of the leadership is going to be key in any organization. That's without goes without saying. But I just think that football compared to let's say basketball, where I do think talent probably matters more in basketball than it does in football. Just from a total collection standpoint of players, you know. Um, yeah, you really need to have someone change the feel and direction of this organization. I think we've heard too many times now. Players leave Miami. Oh, they were soft over there, or oh, all guys want to do is go to Miami and party, and right, all guys, this and that, and they're not taking things seriously. Um, Even today, Bradley Chubb comes out and says, "Hey, we need guys to be held more accountable here in Miami, and we need um, yeah, that to come from our head coach, Mike McDaniel. He said that in the interview straight up today. So I get Mike is a player's coach, but at a certain point, like, this is football. This is a gritty game. We can't just be like, friendly all the time and let guys get soft on us essentially. I don't know if that's what's going on, but just piecing together what I hear from ex players, from kind of stories that get leaked out there. There's some kind of culture reset that's going to have to happen. Keeping Chris Greer and Mike, it's going to be interesting to see how that does go. But I just think whatever the case may be, something's going to have to change. Um, I don't know how it's going to get done, but we'll see. I do think the core group of guys there are passionate, want to win. Like listening to Teron Armstead, I don't know if he's going to be around, but um, yeah, like something's gonna have to change. Looking forward to next year. I don't want to say maybe I'll fall into that same trap that you fall into with your Cowboys, but um, yeah, looking forward to the draft. I'll say looking forward to seeing some of the moves that we make because I think we'll be active. We've been pretty active in free agency. We have a lot of capital this year in the draft, more than we've had the past few years. And like I said, Chris Greer's hit pretty well in the past, several drafts, more than he's missed. So yeah, we'll see how it goes from here. Unfortunate we ended the season on a dud, and now there's a little bit of drama, but have the offseason to kind of let the players recollect, front office recollect, and shoot, I guess we'll give it another shot in 25, 26 or later this year. So that'll
As we
be
always say in Dallas, there's always next year.
yeah. So I guess I'm on that train now, Matt. But that'll be my kind of season recap. Yeah, I know it's kind of long, but had a lot to get off my chest. And now I don't have to talk about the
Yeah, you feel
Dolphins.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't have to talk about the Dolphins for a while. So we can finally move on. And let's move on to some actually teams that are actually still in it.
Yeah. I think
Um,
people hate when we do season recaps because it's just like it's more
and that's
for
fine.
our mental health,
That's
like
fine. If you're a Dolphins fan or if you want to hear me complain, go for it. If not, just skip to this section right now, because we'll get into actual playoff talk now. But before we get to the actual wild card stuff, got to talk about what was slated to be the biggest game of the year: Vikings at the Lions, number one seed and NFC North title on the line, and was a little bit, I don't want to say disappointing, but maybe just from the offensive fireworks standpoint, not quite what everyone was expecting. Was a little bit more of a defensive battle for most of it. So, um, in a nutshell, Matt, I don't really have too much I want to say about this game other than if I am the Vikings, I'm just a little bit concerned with how Sam Darnold played on the big stage. And let's not overreact too much, but big stage at this point, right? The biggest game of his career, biggest game for this organization this season, chance to, jump back and reclaim the North. And not only do you lose, but you lose in a way that, you know, leaving opportunities out there. Um,
yep. I watched a lot of I didn't watch enough of the game, but I watched the highlight video and I think he missed maybe three touchdown throws,
Three
like
touchdown throws
open touchdown, like wide open
and stuff
touchdown
that
throws.
he's
So
been more than capable of
that
hitting this
is
year.
that's not going to cut it in the playoffs. When they play the Rams, that's not going to cut it.
Mm.
Sorry.
So yeah, hopefully this was a good learning thing from him. But I will say that even for the most part, I thought the Minnesota defense did a good job of taking away some of the deep shots. Been talking and singing Brian Flores' praise a lot this year as the DC over there. But also Aaron Glenn on the Detroit side. With as depleted as Detroit has been, and they got a couple more injuries. Unfortunately in this game. Did a pretty good job of overall kind of containing that Minnesota offense and really stifling them in the red zone. I think they went 0 for 4 in the red zone yesterday. So a lot of points left up on the board that Minnesota couldn't capitalize on. So I got a shout out to the Lions defense as well. But I mean, yeah, this it was a good one. I think the Lions are just more complete as a team right now than Minnesota. I mean, Jameer Gibbs as well. Dude is just a beast. Like they didn't even have Monty for that 1-2 punch, but he has that just next level speed, right? Like he hits if he goes untouched to the second level, good luck. Like you better have the angles or he will outrun you. Some of those touchdown runs he had in the game, I was like, how did he even squeak through there? Or how did he even get by there? Didn't make any sense. But that's why the Lions are now officially the 1 seed, Matt. Um, and yeah,
They're the team of destiny right now in the
it
NFL. I
does
have
it
to
does
say
kind of
that.
feel like that. Hopefully for their sake, they can kind of be the feel good story of this year, I'll say, in the NFL and rewrite history for the city of Detroit and the football of Detroit. So maybe, Matt, maybe just maybe this is the year. Um, but other than that, is there anything on this game that you wanted to really talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, I look at the quarterback play. That's a huge thing for me in the playoffs. And yeah, Sam Darnold, I just don't like the way going into the playoffs playing like that. Like we'll talk about it with Oregon and Ohio State coming up. But it's like how if you play an evenly matched team, you can easily lose the game and no problem. But it's just how you lose sometimes. That's what makes it so frustrating. And I think for the Vikings' sake, they're a good team. We know that, but they left a lot of, like you said, they left a lot of points on the board and cashing in the red zone. That is a totally different game. And who knows? With that, they could easily be the 1 seed, and Detroit would have been going on the road. I mean, it's just plain and simple. So, hopefully Sam can, bounce back from this and at least play better in LA. But, Jared Goff, I wouldn't say Jared Goff was great. I mean, he had a couple bad turnovers. Luckily didn't come back to bite them. So, yeah, hard to really say, but yeah, the Sam Darnold performance was a little underwhelming to me on Sunday Night Football, I will
Mm-hmm.
say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't we get into some playoff talk? And I know we're gonna do our predictions, but before that, I think I want to do the our quarterback rankings going in because I think after you list that, it'll kind of help, with some of the explanation for the wild card round predictions and stuff. So
All
I
right.
have my list ready here. 14 quarterbacks remain. And so I thought we'll go bottom to top here first. 14 through 10. We'll go like five-ish at a
Three
time
into
for
10.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, so 14 through 10. So the bottom five. So my list, and I'll just say that I just told Matt, like, hey, give me your quarterback rankings going in. So that gives us some, leeway to justify however we feel like we wanted to rank our quarterbacks, whether it's feel or, stats or whatever you want. however you want to justify it. And so I'll just say, Matt, my rankings are kind of based on a culmination of four things. So I have experience, how have you played recently, um, talent slash playmaking ability, and four, obviously, that it or clutch factor, right? That we see so many of the greats have in the big moments. So that's how I decided to rate mine. I don't know if you have any standards or like things you thought, or it's just feel. Is it just feel for you?
Mine is, it's talent experience, but the one thing that I really try to think in my head, it's like, okay, which quarterback can give me a game-winning drive when it counts the most?
That's fair. That's
That's
fair.
the thing that I was like, if I pick these guys, like, in what order do I trust them in these playoffs? If I need a 2-minute drive to get me a touchdown or a game-winning field goal, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
who do I trust with the ball in my hands?
Yeah, and I like that's why I tried to factor that in, but at the same time, I wanted it to be like I was just thinking, like as a game situation because I'm sorry, in the playoffs, you could if you play like, if you play terrible for 3 quarters and you have a great fourth quarter, sometimes it's just not enough, right? And that's why I think don't get me wrong, that's why I have that it slash clutch factor in there. Like it definitely matters a lot, especially in the playoffs. But if you play like shit for 3 quarters, like at certain points, right, you put your team in too much of a hole for a comeback to even matter, right? So that's why I broke it down like that. But why don't we get started? So I'll just list you off mine real quick here, 14 through 10. Um, a little bit. It's good. It's probably going to surprise people, but I also did want to say all these quarterbacks left are pretty good. Like, there's no bums on here that I don't think anything like that. But starting with 14, I actually have C.J. Stroud at 14. Matt, probably a little bit surprising with the year he had last year, but yeah, the recent play this year hasn't been great. But I'll go Stroud at 14. I have Bo Nix at 13. Sam Darnold at 12, Russell Wilson at 11, and then Jordan Love at 10. So why don't you give me your 14 through 10, and then we can kind of discuss from there.
Okay, well, spoiler, I have the same five guys just in different order.
I mean, that's fair. I feel like that's a
Crazy.
pretty fair
Okay,
one.
but in 14, I have Russell Wilson.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe it's a culmination because it's the Steelers, but they look terrible right now. So I can't really say they're hitting their stride into the
That's
playoffs.
fair.
Like, has he been better than last year? Yeah, but still not Seattle Russell Wilson or Super Bowl champion Russell Wilson, I would say. So I guess he's at 14. I have Sam Darnold at 13. A lot of it is due to, I think, last week, or I should say Sunday's game against the Lions. When you go under 50% throwing, that's a pretty major red flag. So that's a little bit of a turnoff for me. I have CJ at 12. He just hasn't been that dude this year.
So
Um,
weird.
Kind of weird. Yeah. I have Bo Nix at 11 and Jordan Love at 10.
Okay. Yeah, so we both had 10 for Love, but I'll just say I think the surprising ones is going to be people are going to oh sorry, I should say people are going to be surprised. I have probably Russ higher than like a Bo Nix or CJ Stroud. Unfortunately, like CJ Stroud, I do factor in experience. I know he has the playoff win from last year and that was great, but for whatever reason this year just hasn't looked the same, like just looks uncomfortable in the big games too, right? Like you go back to even that Dolphins game that they end up winning, like he really didn't do anything offensively. Um, it was a lot of turnovers by Miami, and they're in the red zone, and I guess they were able to convert. But I really look back to the two games against the Chiefs and the Ravens, the two big games this year, and that Ravens game. I mean, just ugly, right? Like they scored 2 points off of a safety, and that's it against a playoff caliber team at home. That to me was kind of a uh oh kind of thing, and I tried to keep it to quarterback specific play, Matt, because I think the Texans probably have a better supporting cast offensively still than like the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I tried to not factor that in. Also, cannot stand Arthur Smith offense. Like I can't watch it on TV anymore. I'm sorry. I've seen it enough following Marcus's
The
career and
Marcus.
back in Atlanta. Like I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't watch it because it was abysmal to watch that Steelers game this past week for 3.5 quarters until they went hurry up. But that being said, I kind of factored experience a lot here. I mean, tried to rank it fairly evenly. So that's why I have Bo a little bit lower. I think if he closed out that Cincinnati game a couple weeks ago, I'd have him a little bit higher. But when he had his chance to put Cincy away, just couldn't do it. And then Sam Darnold, he's had a great year. So I'm not going to kill him for this past game, but definitely am concerned that when the lights kind of shone bright, that's the performance he went out there and put up. So yeah. And then I still like Russ. I think he's not as dynamic anymore, but if he has the time and let's be honest, George Pickens, who I think you might mention a little bit later, um, cr- critical drops in that game. Um, good balls that are hitting him in the hands, even on that last drive. I think it goes off Fryermuth's hands, to give them a chance. So I thought Russ played okay down the stretch, and yeah. And then Jordan Love, he's just a wild card. I just don't know what I'm gonna get from Jordan Love. Like sometimes he looks like the second coming of Aaron Rodgers, and then sometimes he looks like I don't know, Jameis Winston or you know, someone like that. So I just don't know with Jordan Love. And now he's a little bit banged up, but yeah, I got him at 10. So that's my justification.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So we're gonna go what 9 through 5. We'll stop at 6, 9 through
Yeah, we'll
six
we'll
now.
just go 9 through 6. Yeah, might as well. So
All right.
so 9 through 6 in order. And it got a little tricky from 9 through 7 for me, but I have Jaden Daniels at 9. I have Baker at 8, Goff at 7, and then Herbert at 6, actually.
Hmm. Oh, interesting. Okay, now we're getting a little different here. Um, so I got Baker at 9. I got Justin. Shout out UO, two UO quarterbacks, by the way,
Wow, you have him
in
that
this
low?
field. I have
Wow.
Justin at 8. Um,
Interesting.
the talent is there. But then again, there's the experience. When you blow a 33 to nothing lead, hard to it's hard to defend that. Like I
That's
don't know.
fair.
That's
That's
a
fair.
that's a tick on the resume. So I have to
Yep.
factor that in. I got Jalen Hurts at 7. Still
Mm.
have to respect he has been to a Super Bowl. He's an experienced quarterback. He's been to the playoff. He's won playoff games. Um, and the Eagles are looking pretty good too. So kind of helps with that. And I got Jaden Daniels at 6.
Wow.
I think Jaden Daniels, I mean, I said he was going to be offensive rookie of the year. Looking pretty good on that right now. But what I've seen from him this year, kind of crazy how good he is this first year. The only question now is similar to CJ Stroud is going to be in the second year.
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be that sophomore slump? Because CJ hit it pretty hard this year. So Jaden's right in that area. And like, if you can win a playoff game, we could be talking MVP in the offseason for Jaden
Right.
Daniels,
Yep.
just
Yep.
like CJ. So it's like they're following in that trajectory, I think. But Jaden Daniels, how many game winning drives has he had this season under 2 minutes or in overtime? So I think the ability to have that it factor or, have it when you need it most, that means a lot. So that's why I have him at 6, which is pretty high for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. That's an interesting list, Matt. And I'll just say the reason I have him at 9, no shortage of talent, playmaking, and obviously the game-winning drives this year have been crazy. But the one thing I will say is that we have seen still at times this year, um, does look like a rookie sometimes, right? He still looks, makes some questionable decisions or just doesn't look composed and as poised as he can be, and I feel like he will be throughout the course of his career. So I think the experience is going to matter a little bit. He likes to take some big shots, like take some big hits too, and I think that might come potentially come back to haunt him. Could lead to like a fumble or trying to force a play because he's so dynamic and he is a playmaker. I just feel like sometimes that can work against you, right? Like a young Josh Allen, um, when he's trying to make all these crazy plays and just comes back to bite you in the end. So that's why I have him still there at 9. But don't get me wrong, not a lack of talent there. And then yeah, Baker at 8. I have Goff at 7 and Herbert at 6 because obviously I'm not a huge Herbert guy because I've always been like involved in the Tua Herbert debate thing. But you can't deny the physical tools that Justin Herbert has. And I don't get me wrong, I definitely thought about that, historic playoff loss that the Chargers had. But let's also not forget Brandon Staley was
Staley
the head coach.
shenanigans.
So I mean, and hey, we haven't called on him in too long, but that was kind of a notorious thing that I feel like with Jim now has been eradicated a little bit. I think a couple times this year we've seen the Chargers better in that late game execution. And right now, I just think Justin, he played really well, plays turnover free ball, still has the legs and can burn you if you're not careful. So that's why I have him at 6 and Goff at 7. Because I think if Jared Goff has a healthy unit around him, he'll be great. But is he going to be able to, break a tackle and make a hero play compared to the rest of the guys on the list? Yeah, probably not. But still a solid guy that I have in there. So yeah, that's 9 through 6, Matt. So why don't we get 5 through 1? I think ours is going to be a little bit different. Sounds like, but obviously at 5, I'm going to have Matt Stafford. I have Jalen Hurts at number 4, and then the 2 and 3 are kind of iffy. But I got Josh Allen at 3. I got Lamar at 2, and I'm sorry, but until someone beats Patty, he's gonna be at 1. Like that's just the rule. That's just how it goes. He just finds a way to get it done. But yeah, 5 through 1 for me. So what do you got?
Okay, at number 5, I have Jared Goff at number 5. I think he's definitely shown some improvements over the past couple of years, especially ending his tenure with the Rams, and then obviously with the Lions. Part of it, I will have to say, I think is due to the coaching and the scheme. Uh, he's been very fortunate to have Sean McVay and Ben Johnson calling plays for him. That's might be the 2 greatest offensive minds. And Andy Reid, sorry, but top 5 offensive minds in football. So that probably helps, but you can't deny it. Jared Goff has played outstanding football this year. They're not the number 1 seed if he doesn't play like how he does. So have to respect that. Number 4, I have Matt Stafford at number 4. Easily could maybe make a case he could be 3 or 2. He's won a Super Bowl, and in that Super Bowl, he was him in that last drive. I mean, he had the drive with Cooper Kupp, but making ridiculous throws.
Yeah.
He is entrenched as a veteran. You have no fear with him going to war, leading you on the field with Stafford at QB.
We're very pro Matthew Stafford pod.
Yeah, I mean, well, minus the fact that he destroyed Hawaii in the Sugar Bowl.
Right.
Outside of that, I mean, he's I don't know, maybe a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't know, make a case, but he is him. Matthew Stafford is him. Have to put that up there. But like you said, there's also the talent, the athletic ability that comes into it. So that's why I have Lamar at number 3, Josh Allen at number 2, and Kermit the Frog at number 1.
I mean,
he's what, 3-time Super Bowl champ, going for a three-peat now. I mean, just crazy. So you just have to respect that. And if it's not Tom Brady, it's got to be him. So yeah, Patrick Mahomes still reigns supreme.
Well, I don't know about you, Matt, but yeah, definitely hoping someone knocks him off. But
yeah, absolutely. I do not want to see it. three-peat.
Don't want to see the three-peat. Anyone but Mahomes. The EBC crew, the anyone but the Chiefs, in full effect now. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really don't care at this point.
No Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl, please, or Chiefs, Commanders. Like, no, I don't want any of that.
Yeah. Like,
Nope.
don't get me wrong, I don't want to see the Bills win, but at this point,
See, I'm cheering for Josh Allen.
I'd rather see the Bills than the Chiefs. Like that's how much I'm just sick of them at this point. So yeah, that'll be our QB rankings for this week. But let's just roll right into our wild wild card round predictions, Matt, and we'll go in order here of the game slate. So the first game we have for wild card weekend, Matt, the number 4 Texans versus the number 5 seed Chargers in Houston, obviously. But I think I don't know. I think you might lean with me on this one. I'm gonna
Yep.
take the quote unquote
This is a
favorite,
no-brainer.
quote unquote favorite because they're the betting favorite. Chargers
Yep.
on the road. Just liked what this team has done. I don't think offensively, Justin Herbert has had as much to work with as he had in the past, but he's playing turnover-free football. He can hurt you with his legs. The defense has been a little bit better this year, I think, than in previous years. And just the Texans, like I know they got Joe Mixon, I know Nico Collins is still there, but you lose Stephon Diggs, you lose Tank Dell. Like those are big losses, and especially with how CJ has just looked a little bit out of sorts this year. Yeah, probably an easy pick for us there. Gonna
Let's
go with
not
the
forget the
Chargers.
Chargers have Ezekiel Elliott now.
Oh God, we can definitely forget about that. Um, but hey, Lad looks pretty good. I mean, 1150 receiving yards this year. Wide receiver one, and I'm sure they'll only get more talent this offseason. They bolstered up that offensive line, and I think yeah, give us the Chargers on the road for sure. Um, against Houston. Then rolling right into it, Matt, we have the Ravens at the Steelers, divisional game in an AFC North
No
divisional game
brainer. This is a
in
no brainer for
Baltimore.
me.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you want to say it's the divisional games and blah blah. Like with how Baltimore is playing now, with how Lamar looks right now, and with how the Steelers look on the flip side, offensively especially. Um, I'm sorry, I can't give them a chance. I mean, the Ravens have put up what 30 plus in 4 straight games now. The offense is just clicking with Lamar. Derrick Henry is putting teams away late when it's King Henry time. Like they're just rolling. They're the hot team rolling into the playoffs. I think low key, sneaky, I don't know, sneaky Super Bowl dark horse there. I don't even know if you call him a dark horse actually. Probably one of the favorites at this point. So yeah, I think pretty easy for us there. We're gonna go with the Ravens. Um,
Yep.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised there. This one's an interesting matchup. The next one, Matt, we got Bills at Broncos. Or I mean, sorry, Broncos at the Bills. Probably gonna be cold. Um, big line. I think this line is a little bit too big. I think the line is a little deceiving. At -8.5 at one of the books that I'm looking at. I still think Buffalo comes out with a win, but I do think this is a closer game than some of the odds makers are projecting it out to be. Denver's defense, I really like them. They're pretty young. They got the potential defensive player of the year in Pat Surtain, and he's going to give, whether he's on Amari or Keon Coleman, he's going to give someone problems. So, um, it's going to probably have to come from someone else. But let's not forget James Cook is having a really good year as well. And Josh Allen, just put the ball in his hands, let him go make plays. Like that's the part that you can't really account for. As great of a defense as you are, if he gets outside of the pocket or he's able to create, yeah, good luck. And Bo Nix, I like Bo Nix. I think he's gonna, you know, ascend in this league. But on the road, first game against Buffalo, against Sean McDermott, veteran head coach. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to take the Bills.
I'm gonna lean towards the Bills, but like you said, I think it's gonna be a one score game. I don't think it's gonna be easy, but I think for this one, it's tricky because I feel like the Bills have the most. If you want to say pressure, like every team has pressure. It's a win or go home stake for everyone, but you can't lose this game if you're the Bills. Like there's no shot you can lose this game
Mm-hmm.
for a storyline's sake. Like the Broncos have nothing to lose. And Sean Payton said it. They're young, and if you're young and hungry, you're dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's
That is a
fair.
dangerous team to play. I mean, with a
The,
team that has nothing to lose.
and the offense has been looking good recently.
Yeah.
So
And I think
Bo
I
Nix has
learned
looked
my
good.
lesson from last year with the Cowboys and the Packers. We had everything to lose. The Packers, Jordan Love first start. Whatever. Let's just see. We'll throw it around, see what happens. You never know. Sometimes that young, dangerous team, and with the pressure, I mean, you never know. I think if Denver gets in front early, they score a touchdown, they go up 7-0. Buffalo's gonna start to feel it a little bit. And definitely you go up 10-0, 14-0, or two scores, as the game goes on. It's like, oh, okay, like let's see what you got, Josh. Prove us why you're number two or number three
I
in our
can
quarterback
see
rankings.
I can see the game playing out exactly like how you just called it. Like Denver goes up early and the Bills don't look too good and fourth quarter Josh Allen becomes Josh
Superhero.
Allen. Yep.
Yeah.
I can see it playing out
I
exactly
can
like that.
I think that's the way I see it playing out, I think. But yeah, I think Buffalo escapes. I'll
Yeah.
say escapes because I think it's going to be close.
And I will say too, if Denver, I think if Denver can't run the ball either, and those pass rushers are going to be able to just pin their ears back, and go after Bo Nix. Like I get Bo is super athletic, but you know, if the defenders are getting jumps off the line, good luck. So
Yep.
run the ball, get out early, and I think yeah, Denver has a chance to ruffle some feathers. But okay, well that will take care of the AFC side, Matt. Next game coming up is gonna be the what game is this? The Eagles Packers. Um, this is an interesting one. I'm still gonna rock with the Eagles, but we cannot factor Jalen Hurts now in week two, still in concussion protocol, Matt. Obviously, if he doesn't play, I'm taking the Packers, no doubt. I'm sorry, and Kenny Pickett, I think he got hurt right in that other game. The third string quarterback had to come in,
Tanner
so
McKee.
yeah, Tanner McKee had to come in. So I don't know. I'm a little concerned if I'm an Eagles fan. Um, the fact that Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol. I mean, I'm not going to overreact because it's Monday, so he still has a lot of time to clear and be ready for next week. But a little bit concerned. I think Eagles Nation out there. But with that being said, let's assume Jalen Hurts plays because obviously, uh, that's what we're all looking forward to as fans, right? But even with everything being said, I'm still going to take the Eagles. Just too much talent, I think. Um, and I really think losing Christian Watson, Jordan Love is a little bit nicked up. Like, if you're the Eagles and they have a great defense this year, right? Jalen Carter has been good. Um, the linebackers, I think it's Zach Bond, right? Has been really good
Mm-hmm.
this year. They still got Blankenship, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, the young corners out there. Like they got dudes on that defense. I think they're going to give the Packers a lot of problems. To me, if you're the Eagles, number one, you take away Josh Jacobs, make Jordan Love try to sling the ball around and create some turnovers. And I mean, you still got Saquon on the other side, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, a little bit nicked up, but hey, give me those two guys if you're throwing the ball. With Saquon on the ground, like it's just the Eagles have. I just think the talent is going to be a little bit too much, and they're going to have a little bit too much for the Packers. Although I will say I think it'll be a close game because somehow Matt LaFleur's Packers team just always finds a way. He finds a way to make it a close game. He's a really good coach. I really like him. And don't get me wrong, I like Jordan Love, but it's just a little bit too much gunslinger for me sometimes. Sometimes he looks like I said, the second coming of Aaron Rodgers, and sometimes I don't know what the heck he's doing out there. So a little bit too much uncertainty. Give me the Eagles in that one.
Okay. Yeah, I think, well, we're gonna just assume Jalen Hurts is the starting quarterback.
Yeah, let's assume that
Uh,
because if
I
not, I'm not taking
probably,
them.
yeah. I probably have to lean. Yeah, I probably have to lean towards the Eagles in this one. Uh, Kind of a bummer because I think the injuries for me is make. I think that's a big thing right now. I saw like Christian Watson gets nicked up. He's probably done for the
Well, I
season.
think it's an AC. They said he tore his
Oh
ACL.
gosh, okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
that, but it looked bad. It was a non-contact injury, so that's the worst kind of injury. Jordan Love got nicked up, I think. So that's like two key offensive pieces, and really Jaden Reed is really boom or bust, literally. So it's really the Josh Jacobs show at this point. So if the Eagles shut him down, then well, you can just put a fork in him, I think,
yeah,
honestly.
I agree.
But I wish both teams could lose. That would be great. I don't even know if I want to watch that game, honestly, but I probably would have to side with the Eagles um, getting out of this one.
Yeah, yeah, just too much talent, I think, and they're just playing too well right now. So I agree with you there. Bucks Commanders, Matt. So the Commanders going down to Tampa. Interesting one. We get to see. Well, hopefully, I think Marshawn Lattimore's still injured, but always fun to see a Mike Evans,
He's gonna
Marshawn
come
Lattimore.
back.
He'll come back. Ain't no way
Just
he's missing a playoff game against Mike Evans. So yeah, that'll be really fun to look at. Two really fun quarterbacks to watch. Baker always puts on a show. Couple dynamic running backs too. We got Bucky Irvin, Brian Robinson Jr. Hopefully he's back and healthy. I think Austin Eckler will also be back. So really good. Should be a high scoring game. Might be the most fun game to watch of the weekend. With it being hopefully a shootout. I think it'll probably be a shootout, something like that. Both defense not great, I think, but this is gonna be my first, I think, upset. I'm gonna pick of the weekend though, Matt. I'm gonna take the Commanders on the road. I think it's the beginning of the Jaden Daniels era in Washington. Um, Terry still there. I just like Zach Ertz, the veteran tight end. Like I said, I think it's going to be a shootout, and Jaden's been clutch all year in the fourth, so this would be my first upset of the weekend. I'm taking the Commanders on the road.
damn. I was wishing you didn't say that because I was gonna pick the Commander for those reasons, and that's why I have Jaden Daniels in my top. What did I say? Top six. I mean, I think unfortunately he's that dude, and sadly for me, I'm gonna have to deal with him for another 10 years, probably at least. So I think this is his CJ Stroud rookie season moment. I think he gets one. The Bucks, yeah, like sometimes they look great, sometimes they look terrible. So
Yeah,
it's like
that's true.
I don't know which Buccaneers team I'm gonna get. Tom Brady's not playing quarterback. No offense to Baker, but it's not the GOAT out there. It's Baker Mayfield. Sometimes he looks great, and as we know, sometimes he can be a little erratic and a little reckless. And I just think Jaden Daniels, just I don't know. I just have it's more of a gut feeling in this one because I think both teams are pretty evenly matched. But there's something about Jaden Daniels, man. If the game is close, I think he's gonna find a way to do it. So give me the Commanders to beat the Bucks.
Okay. And I have a feeling we're probably gonna agree on this one too, Matt. But uh the last game of Wild Card Weekend, we got the Vikings traveling all the way to LA, take on the Rams.
Give me the Rams.
Yep, same here. Give me the Rams at home. I get the Vikings are the favorite, and outside of this past game, have looked good all year. The defense, I think, has been good. I think this one is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game, because people don't really realize the Rams defense has been playing extremely well, as of late. They're young too. and they got guys. And if Matthew Stafford is healthy with a full Kyron Williams, Puka Nakua, Cooper Cup, you know, available to him, like you give Sean McVay those weapons, and I get, that honestly all the coaches left are really good coaches in my opinion. But Sean McVay, we've seen him scheme his way all the way to a Super Bowl, made it to two, won one. So he's been there and done that, right? And I just really like Sean McVay. I really like Kevin O'Connell too, but a little bit more faith in Matthew Stafford than Sam Darnold right now, and a little bit more faith in Sean McVay in the prep standpoint. Really like Kevin O'Connell too, but I mean, just something about Sean McVay once it hits the playoffs that just figures out a way to get it done. So I'm gonna yeah, I think we're both taking the
Yeah,
Rams.
I think so too. And I think people don't realize that Kevin O'Connell came from McVay, the McVay tree. They were he was the OC with the Rams at one point, so or quarterback coach or something. I don't know, but he came from the McVay coaching tree. So basically, it's the same offense, um, with a different conductor. I think in terms of quarterbacks, and that's the difference right there. In the playoffs, I think quarterback play truly does matter. And I just think Matthew Stafford, he's won a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold, is it a 1 year wonder? We won't know until next year. Um, but how can I bet against a guy that's won a Super Bowl before and won playoff games? So just keeping it simple right there. Give me the experience. So I'm taking Stafford and the Rams.
Okay,
Kind of
yeah,
unfortunate though, I will say before we get off that I'm picking the Vikings to lose and they have 14 wins.
I know.
Maybe I'm just throwing this out because we're going to talk about college football. Maybe we consider some kind of playoff format change because I think it's pretty unfair. I think it's a really, really unfortunate that the Vikings have 14 wins. Really, any other year they could be the 1 seed and Super Bowl favorites, but they're going on the road for playing great football all year long, winning 14 out of 17 games, which is unheard of. So I'll just say it's really unfortunate for the Vikings. They've had a great season, but sadly, because you guys lost to Detroit, it's probably coming to an end, in my opinion.
Well, at
Because you're
least
out of
it's
the
in the
road.
dome. It's not like in a
That's true.
terrible environment. But
That is true.
and let's be honest, who knows how LA fans are going to be even in the playoffs? Like it. There might be more Vikings fans than Rams fans anyway. So I don't know. Maybe it'll low key be a home game. You never really know when you play in
And
in LA.
it's
So
only a home game if it's the 49ers or the Cowboys playing in SoFi. Because I don't know, for some reason, those fan bases take over
yeah,
in LA. I don't understand.
yeah, I don't get it
Yeah,
either.
LA Rams fans, come on, guys, do better.
Yeah. Well, okay. Last quick NFL thing, Matt. Before the playoffs start, uh, who's your Super Bowl matchup and winner?
Okay. Do I want to be plain Jane? Just pick the 1 seeds. I could easily do that, but I'm not. But I'll start with the side that I'm gonna feel more confident on. I'm gonna pick the Lions in the NFC. I just think it just seems like a team of destiny. Everything is clicking for them right now. They're playing at home. You get to rest up. I mean, they're winning in so many different ways right now, I think, and that's scary to me. So I got the Lions in the NFC. In the AFC, then this is where it gets a little tricky, I think. Give me Lamar Jackson. Give me Lamar Jackson. I think, it's a collision course, with Josh Allen and Lamar potentially meeting in the divisionals. But I'm just looking at, quote unquote, the big three. Looking at how they're playing right now, I think Buffalo's been great. I think Buffalo's been great. I think it's a push, but I think the Ravens as a complete roster is just a little bit better right now. I just think having Derrick Henry in that backfield is making Lamar's job just a little bit easier. And Josh Allen, he is terrific, but he don't have a Derrick Henry. I mean, James Cook is great, but Derrick Henry is a game changer, I think, for this team. The defense is always going to be a Baltimore-led defense. Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews got a nice tandem at tight end. So I like the Ravens, and yeah, they probably will have to go to Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. But if you said it best on this podcast, the Chiefs they just don't have it this year. They're not playing like the big bad Chiefs this year, and that has to be taken into consideration. I think it's really hard to just okay, well, it's the playoffs. Let me just turn on the switch. Can they be good? Can they win a game or two here and there? Yeah, of course. You have to respect that, but you know, when you play a good team, especially with a good quarterback on the other side, you know, how are they going to turn out? And
Yep.
right now, Lamar Jackson is playing better than Patrick Mahomes. So I'm sticking to my quarterback theory. Yes, Patrick Mahomes is the ranked number one, but we're respecting that. Lamar Jackson is playing out of his mind right now. So let me ride the hot team, the hot quarterback. Give me Lamar Jackson. So the Ravens against the Lions.
And who do you have winning?
I'm gonna pick the Lions. I just think
Okay.
it's the team of destiny. Unfortunately. So I hope everyone cheers for the Lions this year, and then next year they're like the enemy. Like, it's like you don't want them to win again. Like one is enough.
Yeah.
One is enough.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you said that at least because unfortunately, I also had the Ravens and the Lions. I didn't think you were gonna pick the Ravens. So I was like, what the heck? I figured the Lions one was gonna be there, but I thought you were gonna go with the Bills with how much you're hyping up Josh
Oh,
this year,
trust
man.
me, I love Josh. I hope
Oh
he
man.
wins. But it's
Okay,
like,
but I will
God, the
say
Ravens are playing well right
yeah, see,
now.
I just think they're playing too good at the right time. They're peaking. And we talk about it a lot when it comes to the playoffs in all the sports, but how many times is it more so the team that's playing well or the hot team rolling into the postseason that carries all the momentum, right? And just the Ravens have been beating everyone like it's not even close. So that's why I got Baltimore. But I got Lamar winning his first ring. So I will say
Would
that
not be upset with that at
I
all.
think it is a great story for Detroit, and I think I just unfortunately fear it might be heartbreak. Not due to the coaching or lack of talent, but I do think the injuries on the defensive side of the ball are going to end up hurting them. Like they've withstood so much up until this point. It's amazing and a testament to Dan Campbell and that organization that they're the one seed. But I think at a certain point, the lack of attrition is just going to catch up to them, and like I think by then they might be a little bit too depleted.
Hey, but you
And
never know.
anyone chasing around Lamar, man, like good luck with that.
Never
So,
know. Aiden Hutchinson might return if they make a deep run.
well, I hope so, but
That is a game changer right there. Even if he's 75% and he's limited snaps, that is a big difference.
that's true. That's true. He was looking like the defensive player of the year before he got hurt. So, yeah, who knows? But yeah, okay. Well, at least you picked the Lions. I got the Ravens. I can't believe you picked the Ravens still. Um, man, completely
Well, we had the
made this
exact
sh-
same
make this show
wild card
so
prediction.
uninteresting.
Well,
But at least
yeah.
that's how you know we don't fabricate this stuff for rage to debate just to debate. Um,
Yeah, we think alike, man. That's why we're doing
yeah.
this podcast.
Unlike other shows that all they do is I feel like try to get people mad and
Yeah,
just debate.
just
Anyway.
stay in the news. Go look on
Anyway,
Twitter what happened.
yeah. Why don't we get to college football, Matt? Um, Unfortunately, it was a rough weekend for all I guess the quote unquote top four seeds. Because they all lost. So I don't even know how we should get into this, Matt. Obviously, there's one real focus we want to get to. So maybe why don't we just start with that? We'll start with Oregon and Ohio State because it was the most anticipated game of you know New Year's week festivities, I guess if you want to call it that. But the Rose Bowl, always a big game, and Oregon comes out and lays an egg, essentially. I'm sure you have a lot you want to say about this game, Matt. So why don't you just get into your disappointment and sadness of the product that they put on the field?
Ooh, yeah. So probably one of the worst ways to start off the new year. Probably, I don't even like. It's been what, a week, a little less than a week since the game, and I'm still just shocked at how it played out. Not necessarily Ohio State winning the game. I always factored in, Ohio State is really good, and I truly believe this. I said this before. I think I said the winner of this game probably going to win the national championship. And I think with the way Ohio State looks right now, hard to not pick against them, I think.
Definitely.
Um, but that was always the case. But I just didn't expect Oregon to just look so lost, look not like the number one team, look not like they just won a Big Ten championship, beating Penn State, you know, in a grinded out game, shootout, who is, by the way, in the semifinals now. So, I mean, 13-0, undefeated. Like I just didn't recognize this team at all. And it just started from literally the first drive of the game. Jeremiah Smith, just a simple dump off in the flat. He just runs straight. Really doesn't need to juke out anybody. Just literally runs straight. Um, Houses one. I'm like, okay, not a good start.
Yeah.
But it's the second part. It's when they give up the second one, it's like, oh guys, what are we doing here? 14-0, and then obviously we know what happens after that. But it's just how do they score the touchdowns? It was just like
Too easy.
practice. Like it's like walkthroughs, like you got guys like 15, 20 yards open down the field. Travion Henderson's 66-yard touchdown run was not a, reverse or, some kind of fancy schematic, Chip Kelly genius run play. It was literally an inside zone. Nothing crazy. I think they were just looking to get, ahead of the chains. And Travion Henderson goes untouched. Untouched. Like, I don't
And put
even
the nail in Oregon in the second quarter.
on I mean, yeah, well, there was a little false hope where I thought, well, okay, they're kind of coming back, but that was the defense, man. That was like, there's so much blame, honestly, but the defense, that was just embarrassing. Like, what the heck? Will Howard had all day to throw. I mean, I don't know. Maybe one of us could have played quarterback and just threw a check down to Jeremiah Smith. I mean, he housed one. I would have maybe threw a touchdown in this game with the way Oregon's defense looked. I mean, it's just simple shifts. I mean, a guy motions, they don't run with the guy, and then they just busted coverage. Two guys go on one. They leave one guy open. Like it's just mistakes that they didn't make all year. And that's like football 101. Like I don't get it. I really didn't get it. There was no answer defensively. But I think what was a little more, yes, the defense was bad, but the offense, oh my gosh, dude. Starts with the play calling. I think Will Stein,
Mm.
offensive coordinator, deserves some heat here. I mean, he was. I don't want to say he looked his equivalent was like Ben Johnson for the Detroit Lions. I mean, some of the plays that he's scheming up this year, pretty genius. Honestly, there's a lot of motion. Like they're creating guys to be open, making it easier for Dylan. And then we come into Ohio State, and it's like, yeah, we're down, but you still have these rub routes, these creative scheming passing plays that you guys always run. And even more than ever, shouldn't you be using it now? But we go to dive up the middle, stuffed, 2nd and 10, dive up the middle, stuffed,
Couldn't believe
third,
it.
third and 9. Now it's like, oh, well, Ohio State's coming. Here they come. And Dylan gets sacked. Like, it's just, it was the same thing over and over. And then there was no answer. So that's that. I mean, we couldn't run the ball at all. Take out the sack yardage. We still had, without sack yardage included, 18, 20 yards rushing.
Jeez.
20. That's not including sack yards. College, they include the sack yards, so they technically had negative 23 yards rushing
Yeah, that's
in the game.
disgusting.
But, as much as the play calling was bad, there is a little blame for QB1. Um, Dylan Gabriel, I mean, Heisman Trophy finalist. What happened? like what happened? I don't know. There's a viral video that went out of him doing an interview where they said he looked like just on another planet. So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know if that's true or not,
Nah.
but that's already a bad look if that was the case. But the game itself, it's like, I watch it on TV. Like we're watching it on TV. Maybe it looks different in person, looking at it from the field level. But I swear, a lot of the sacks that he took was like he's holding the ball too long. I look at the TV. I'm like, it's 3rd and 10. We're down 27-0. Just pick up 4 or 5 yards and make fourth down a little easier. Don't just hold the ball and sit there like a lame duck in the pocket, and then the pocket collapses, and now you got 4th and 15. So now you have to punt the ball. So it's like just things like that. It's like you're a mobile quarterback. Why all of a sudden did you forget, hey, I can run, I can move around, extend the play? It's just, I don't think he processes the field that quickly. Like, I'm going to go back to this comparison. This is why I loved Bo Nix in this offense. Bo Nix was literally perfect for this team because, one, he could process the field faster. Two, much stronger arm. I think the field was open. Like, Oregon lacked big playability. And yes, it's hard to make a big play when you're down 27-0 because Ohio State's not going to give up anything over the top. They're going to make you grind it out, inch their way down the field. So maybe it's more of a season thing, but it's like Dylan doesn't have the arm strength that Bo Nix had. And he definitely doesn't have, I think, the ability to process the field. I think that just makes a huge difference in this game. The reads were slow. You're just sitting in the pocket too long. Bo Nix was great. He sees the pocket, nobody's open, run, slides for 5 yards. That is way better than sitting in the pocket for an extra 2 seconds, hoping somebody can create separation, and then you get sacked. And you can't do that against Ohio State. Maybe you can get away with that against a lesser team, but not in a big game like this in the college football playoff. So that's really what it was. I mean, I don't want to say we would have won if Bo Nix was playing this game because Ohio State just came out and they wanted blood from the first time they played us this year. Obviously, we all know the Will Howard slide probably cost them a chance to kick a game-winning field goal. But man, I don't know. Just disappointing that you can come out flat like this. It looked like the Cowboys and the Packers game last year in the
Yeah.
playoffs. That's literally what I was looking. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I watching? This is literally what I saw with the Cowboys. And so I'm cheering for the team that's getting blown out. So it's like it's not fun.
Yeah, it was not a fun
watching this stuff, and it's kind of the same things. And it's like, yeah, Dylan's numbers look great. He was 29 of 41, 300 yards passing. Wow, no interceptions. Classic Dak Prescott stat right there. I mean, garbage yards. I mean, yeah, we score our first touchdown and we're down 34-0. Like, what good is that going to do for us? So just truly, truly disappointing. And a lot of blame has to go to Dan Lanning. He's the head coach. I mean, you could probably almost predict that Ohio State was going to beat Tennessee. So there's no way you could tell me, you weren't prepared. You've seen them before. You literally had 3 weeks to literally game plan for Ohio State.
Yeah.
And your defense gets absolutely shredded. That's where his fault is because he's a defensive coach. Mm-hmm. His defense got destroyed on simple motions, just not in their gaps. I mean, it's just basic things. Like, come on, dude. You can recruit like hell, but can you please coach these guys? to do their assignments when we need it most. Because that's really what it comes down to now is this narrative of Dan Lanning. He's this great coach. I mean, one of the great coaches in college football right now, young coach. Obviously, with Oregon, you have unlimited resources. You can bring in the recruits. But yeah, we can win 10 games every season, but can you win when it counts in the playoff? That's what it comes down. Last year, could you win when it counts? Could you beat Washington to go to the playoff when it counts? No, we came up short. Same thing the year before that. I think we lost to Washington again. We're ranked. Can we beat Washington to stay in the playoff hunt late in the regular season? No. And now this year, can we win? We're the number one team in the country, and we go one and done in the CFP. Like, that's not a good look, I think, and just the way they lost. So, next year is going to be really, really interesting. I think whether it's Dante Moore at quarterback, Quinn Ewers, I don't know who it is.
Won't
But
be
do I
Song
think?
Batella and all that.
Oh yeah, with the reports I saw, I'm glad he left. Honestly, um, but whoever it is leading the charge, I expect them to be good, competing for a playoff spot. But it just comes down to, can you win the Big Ten? Can you get in the playoff, and can you make a deep run for a championship? Because now that's the expectation. Oregon
Yep.
set the bar high with this team, so I don't know. It was just a really, really sad way to go out. And really for Dylan too. I mean, this is his last college football game of his career. He's been in college since we were in college, so
Yeah.
good lord. But what a way to go out. And I don't know if NFL scouts take into account the last game that you play on the
Probably.
big moment, but not that's not a good showing, I think, at all. So just tough. Just truly tough.
Yeah. And I'll just say, devil's advocate here a little bit, Matt. I think we're gonna have a discussion about this 3 week layoff for teams because I mean, to be quite honest, I think offenses are going to be what suffer more when you kind of go out and try to, execute against not your scout, your own defense that you're playing against. Honestly, I think we saw in all 4 games, right? The offenses of the team that had the bye look a little sluggish to start the game, at least. Arizona State, who we'll get to in a little bit, like they came out pretty flat. Like Texas was out there early and Arizona State came back. Oregon, like you could just tell that they were just a little bit out of sync and out of sorts early. Like you said, maybe the game plan was okay, try to get Dylan some easy completions early and run the ball to help them, establish some control that way. Ohio State takes that away, and then, like you said, on the flip side, maybe it does hurt the defensive communication or whatever it was. But Ohio State pounces on Oregon, right? And the offense is still like getting back into game speed mode. And by the time they figure it out, it's way too late. Um, and so I'm not gonna, I think this is it was a tough spot for Oregon, to be completely honest. Then on the flip side though, right? Like you said, Dan Lanning, gotta have your guys ready to go. I don't know how you do it, but that's why they pay you the big bucks as the head coach to figure that out. And then Dylan, yeah, like you said, you're the most experienced player in college football at this point. Um, got to be able to adapt
Yep.
quickly, right? Second half adjustments are too little too late in college when you're playing against, a team like Ohio State. Like it's just too late. And when you see, how they're coming out on the other side of the ball, like you gotta be able to adapt quickly. And like you said, I do think the game plan was a little questionable, especially I was like pulling my teeth out. Why are we running, like you said, halfback dives that are just getting stuffed? Then he has to throw, um, and they're all over it, right? So I will say though, to give Dylan a little bit of credit, anytime they ended up having a scoring drive, it's him creating or off schedule, you know, because I truly think they just got out schemed offensively and defensively. They were out schemed. Dylan was, doing his best early, and when he had to create, to his credit, he did. But you can't expect your offense to be okay. Eight, go out there and make a play every single time. Like that's just not going to work. So at the same time, he didn't play great early, but I think more so in college than in the pros. Like, you're going to teach these kids how to play your scheme. So that's why I think college, coaches get more of that big time stardom probably. That's why Nick Saban was so coveted because his consistency on defense, right? The stuff he's able to put together. Don't get me wrong, talent matters, but when talent is even, we see how much coaching matters even more, especially in college football. And I think Dan Lanning and his crew got out coached and out schemed. So I mean, yeah, I don't
I'll
know.
say one thing on talent. Talent was pretty even, except for that one guy on Ohio State, Mr. Jeremiah Smith, who
Yeah,
just looked
true
like a
freshman, by the way.
freak. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that might have been. Yeah, that was probably his big coming out party. With the national spotlight when everybody watching. But I gotta say, truly watching him play football was like, holy cow, this guy is a beast.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
some of the plays that he makes is
he
it
could
looked
go
like
in the
Julio
first round
Jones.
right now. I think, like,
Yeah, he would be the
seriously.
number one receiver prospect in the draft this year. Probably would be next year too. But he still has to come back after that. So
Hmm.
which is crazy because Ryan Williams is in his class, I think. And I always thought, man, this guy, he looks like Amari Cooper. He looks like
Yeah.
Amari Cooper. That's a first round pick receiver. Any team would love to have that kind of route running guy. But Jeremiah Smith, holy cow, I did not realize he was that big. I
Yeah.
thought he was a little smaller, but I don't want to say second coming of Julio Jones, but saw a little bit of that, honestly. Just the ability to high point the ball, the physical specimen that he is, and just, the breakaway speed.
Hmm.
Literally like a Julio Jones. So pretty impressive to watch him play. Hopefully he can continue to do his thing, and especially in these last game or two in the
Yeah.
CFP run that he has. He was special.
Yeah.
I hope he
Um.
comes to Dallas.
um. Well, okay. So I want to talk about two more things, Matt. We're not going to be able to get to the Notre Dame game. We can maybe brush on Ashton Genty a little bit. But I just wanted to talk about first the Texas and Arizona State game a little bit. Shout out Cam Scatterbo, by the way. Dude is a beast, and yeah, he will be on an NFL roster next year for sure. With the stuff he's able to do, kind of backed up some of his talk, but um, Texas, Arizona State, just Texas, man. Like, should have had put this game away. Leave it to Texas to let Arizona State creep back in. Look like they were going to lose for a second, but also got to give Quinn Ewers some love. Like, he made the fourth down throw when it mattered the most. So just weird. Just Texas is so weird. Like, it's like, oh, there goes Texas losing again, and oh, there goes Texas with a clutch play. I don't really know what to make of them at this point. If I'm
I mean,
like, I'm not
Ohio
too
State is
scared.
gonna, if they
Yeah,
play like how they did, they're gonna kill them, just like how they did Oregon.
yeah, I agree. And then Action Genty, um, like, hey,
Hey,
hell of a
we called
season,
it. We
but
called it.
you take them away, that's wraps, right, for Boise State. So, um, essentially what it was. And then Georgia, just like no Carson Beck, was a completely different team out there. Notre Dame's defense and Riley Leonard was up for the challenge there. Um, but what I did want to spend time talking about, Matt, is the format, right? First year with the 12 team format. And four top seeds, all with the bye, end up losing. So with that being said, I think for sure there will be changes made next year. Um, and to be quite honest, I do think Oregon got kind of screwed, in the sense that you imagine, right, being the one seed in the CFP means that you were the best team in college football during the regular season. So you should be rewarded for that. You know, hearing Nick Saban say that, hearing a lot of these analysts say it, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, that's why in college basketball, when you have the tournament, you have the one play the 16. You don't have the one play the second best team in the first round of the playoffs. Like, that's not what you want to see. So just interesting the way that the rankings ended up falling, that you place Ohio State on that same side as Oregon when, let's be honest, that's probably a national championship game we want to see, right? Oregon and
Mhm.
Ohio State. You give Oregon a chance after not playing football for 3 weeks to go out there and play, a team that's, probably not as good as in Ohio State, or at least not the second best, arguably going into it, the second best team in the country already, right? So it just puzzling how the format ended up working out, and really unfortunate, I think, for Oregon, because you could see that first half out of sorts, both sides of the ball. And when you're not getting game speed reps for 3 weeks, it's hard to just jump in. These guys aren't professional athletes, by the way, they're college students, right? So for them to be able to just jump into that type of environment and expect them to perform, I feel for them. I really do. I think Oregon, got the short end of the stick this year. But also on top of that, the 2, 3, and 4, just didn't look that good. I get Carson Beck wasn't there. That's a big loss, but is that something the committee needs to factor in? I don't know, maybe. Um, but yeah, definitely gonna need, I think, some changes next year. The 12 man is okay, I think. I think it's always fun to give, a team a chance at an upset. So I don't hate the number of teams, but they've got to do something about reorganizing the sides, I think, because yeah, like the 3 week break is so tough, and um the 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 seating just didn't quite match up. So
Yeah. It's gonna be hard for the at least the timing of it because I feel like they want to keep it as like the New Year's Six. Like that's their
and
mecca,
that
right?
I
So I
and I
don't
do
hard
think
to
that's
move that,
fine,
right?
but you really gotta give them a like I don't know. I just think the number one team playing a team as hot as Ohio State was. I get they lost, I get they lost to Michigan, but for them to be on that same side, like, how do we let that
Yeah.
happen?
I think it's a pretty simple fix at least for next year. I think it's you can keep a 12 team format. You can have the conference champions get in. That's like an automatic ticket. I got no problem with that. But do I believe the conference champions should be a top four seed? No, I don't think so. I think that should be the change. It's if you're a top four seed by the committee's view, that's like the original playoff format, right? Like the top four seeds, right? Not taking into account who won their conference championship or not. Yes, that probably made a difference in a 14 playoff. Um, but I think it's strictly top 12, taking into account who won the conference championships. So, like, for example, Boise State, Arizona State, probably the ones that you're like, well, did they really deserve to be the number 3 seed and the number 4 seed in the CFP over teams like Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, to name a few, right? Like, I don't know. I think that's a little whack. So I think maybe it's like, well, maybe Ohio State is number 4 this year. And, you move Boise State to like, what were they ranked originally? So they're probably going to be like a 11 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Clemson's at the 12. I'm thinking Arizona State. Oh, actually, Arizona State might have been the 12, actually. And then Clemson's the 11, Boise's 10. Like
Yeah,
that,
the
that would be
division.
the format. I think you can reward conference champions by putting them in the playoff, a guaranteed spot.
Yeah.
It's like NCAA basketball. Like you win your conference, you get the automatic berth into the
Mm-hmm.
tournament. But that doesn't mean you're a 1 seed
That's a good point.
or an 8 seed. Like give them the automatic pass into the tournament, but you rank based on the CFP rankings. who
Mm,
gets the top 4 seeds and so forth. I think that's how they should do it next year. See how it goes.
yeah, that's a good. I like that format, Matt.
And then if you win, it's like maybe take a little bit of the NFL page. It's like if the 7 seed wins in the NFL, they would go to the 1 seed. The lowest seed plays the highest seed. Like if
Yeah.
something like that, if there's an upset. So it rewards the top seeds for quote unquote doing well in the regular season, giving them a easier path
Hmm.
to the championship. I really
Yeah.
think it's not that hard. They should just do that.
Well, I hope they
It's the
listen. I hope they
conference
listen to us
champions
and
that's
you.
ruining everything. I think.
Yeah. Um. Well, we'll see. I definitely think changes are gonna will be made as well next year because we don't want to see this type of product again. Um. Okay. Well, that being said, we have a little bit of time, Matt. If you really want to quickly run through some UH basketball stuff, um, we got like a little less than
How much time we got?
we got 14 minutes left
Oh,
total.
okay.
So,
All right, we're good. Okay, well, basketball, conference play comes in. Went to both of the games. They split, but it was a rather disappointing split, I would say, because they let the first one get away. They lose by 3 to Santa Barbara on Thursday.
mm,
But what was so frustrating about this one was, you know, Ganat Ganat sometimes, man, this guy is just the worst when it comes to like rotations and stuff. Like he leaves his best players sitting on the bench while our team is struggling. When they're sitting for like 8 minutes, it feels like of gameplay or game time. It's like where where is Giddis? Where is Marcus Green? Where is our baskets? Where's our buckets gonna come from? We're just struggling right now. We're going on like a 13-0 drought. Can we please put our offensive guys in the game right now? Like it wasn't the defense that was the problem. It was our lack of scoring, playmaking, and shooting, which has been a common thread with Iran Ganat led teams. So that was frustrating. And it's like when we get somebody going, like Chandler Christensen, who was playing very well, for some reason there's a stretch when we just stop going to them. Like like I don't understand. Is it really that hard to like run your offense but play through especially your center who's dominating in the game? Like that's like Shaq. If you have Shaq on your team and he's dominating, feed the guy. Throw it to prime Dwight Howard inside. He's gonna get doubled. You kick it out, make open three. Like it's really they make it so complicated and they're just wasting so much time. It almost looks like a 3-man weave sometimes. Like they're just passing the ball around. Like I don't even know what they're doing sometimes. But it was a lot of that. And then same thing with Cal Poly. I think the difference was Cal Poly is just not as good. They score a lot of points, but they were small. Uh, UH just played an inferior team at that time. So I'm losing a little bit of faith in this team. Honestly, we'll see how much energy I have. To keep doing this segment at this point. Maybe I'll
mm,
just go to, honestly, it's kind of just frustrating. Because we've been seeing this product for what 9 years, 10 years now with Iran Ganat. So it's like how
yeah.
much more I'm like burnt out already. I've been burnt out for 5 years already. I've had enough. I think we need to make a change. I'll say it. I don't care, but we need to make a change. It's pretty sad because when you're a fan and your coach is listening to you, that's pretty sad because that's literally what happened on Thursday. Like we're sitting at the bottom. UH is down by 3, down by 3. Or they're down by 1. They're trying to foul, right? Make it a 2 or 3 point game so they get the last shot to potentially tie it with a 3. And Hunter and I are sitting at the bottom. We're like, Coach, put in Akira. Put in Akira. We need a big, like we need a 3 to tie. Put in Akira. And then like 7 seconds later, you see him. Oh yeah, Akira. he goes in the game. It's like
Okay.
we're
Well,
good job for
maybe
you.
he was planning to do that anyway.
Really? But why was it only when we said it and it was like 7 seconds after? So I'm thinking We're yelling at him. He can clearly hear us, by the way. Um,
He's like,
so
oh,
it's
these
it's
guys
like
again, man. Like, leave me alone.
it's like Akira, just get in the game. Like literally, that's what it. Like, what's what happened? It's not like we said, "Oh, we should put Akira in," and he was already going in. It was literally he was sitting on the bench. Akira had no. It looked like he wasn't going in the game, and
Mm.
he gets up and it's like
Well, you know what?
he's
Shout
in.
out to you and Hunter then, man.
Well,
Because
we're trying to help the team. He clearly can't do it, so I mean, somebody's got to try to do something to help this team. Because my gosh, pretty painful. It's pretty painful right now. Not gonna lie. So we have one win, 1-2 in conference, and they're going on the road. I have no confidence at them. They haven't won a road game yet this year. They're 0-2 on the road. So what makes me believe they're going to win now when we weren't tested in the preseason to play on the road? So
mm,
playing against Riverside and Fullerton, like those teams always give you trouble. So I don't expect them to be anything less. So I could easily see 1-4 coming back in 2 weeks.
oh, great. Well,
Yep.
I guess
No no
we'll check
tournament for
back
us
in.
this year.
Hey, you never know. But yeah,
No.
we'll check back in a little bit as the season goes on, and just a lot of football right now. Prime football talks, so we'll focus on football. But yeah, man, that was good. It's been we had a lot to talk about this week, but why don't we get to our final quick hitters and wrap it up?
All right. Our Jerry Jones award winner this week. We kind of touched on him earlier. Got to be George Pickens, right? For the Steelers. I mean, probably one of the saddest performances of the year, at least by a wide receiver. I mean, just drop after drop after drop. I mean, it was not even like it
They're
was
good balls
routine.
too.
Yeah, like you fumble, like huh, not a good way to go into the playoffs. Let me tell you that.
Mm.
Yeah, glad I'm not dealing with George Pickens on my team. At least I'll say that because he would drive me insane. So thank you, CD Lamb, for being an absolute beast. Love you, 88. But yeah, George Pickens, you're the Jerry Jones Award winner, hands down this week.
Okay. And then my fan tribute gotta be Mr. Marcus Mariota coming in, like you said, helping the Commanders clinch the
And the
sixth seed,
Cowboys.
helping the Commanders clinch the sixth seed, helping the Cowboys get a better draft pick. Um, all in all, good for the both of us. But yeah, really happy to just whenever he gets in, to an environment and balls out, like it's just really great to see. And unfortunately, Cliff Kingsbury was not his OC or coach back when he was in Tennessee because this was exactly the type of offense that Marcus needed during his career. Um, I just really think that unfortunately, sometimes players with so much talent go to systems that just don't fit their skill set. We can even look at a guy like Sam Darnold. This is what his fourth team that he's been on, and it took him this long, practice squads, backup quarterbacks, finally found a fit that is right for him, and he's gone out and balled out. And to this day, I still feel that Marcus, even at he's what 31 now, I still think he has a lot left in the tank. He hasn't played a lot in the past several years, so I think athletically he's still in pretty good shape. But he just never found a system that really fit his skill set during the real prime of his career, which is unfortunate. But I mean, you can see when given the chance, to go operate this Commanders offense, he balled out, and just happy for him. Hopefully, he finds a good place, whether it's still as a backup somewhere. But I think there's no doubt he is one of the most coveted backups at this point in the league. With the veteran experience that he has, he can still play, and obviously a great locker room guy. You hear, all the stories of ex teammates and stuff like that. So really happy for Marcus anytime he has a chance to do well. And it doesn't completely kill Matt's team. Always good. But I don't know. He somehow balls out in Dallas all the time. So maybe if Cooper Rush leaves, that'll be a good second string for you. Um,
Ooh.
because he just balls out in Jerry World. I remember when he was on the Titans too, a while ago. He beat Dallas. So but
Titans.
yeah,
He was on the Raiders, beat us on Thanksgiving with Derek Carr. He was
yep,
the backup, but he had a touchdown in that game, I
yep.
remember.
So I don't know, maybe, but yeah, good for Marcus. But yeah, that'll be my that's my fans tribute for today.
Okay, and the sports fact, kind of crazy that this podcast team is like literally like two peas in a pod. We're like thinking alike because I literally picked a Marcus sports fact before anything of this. Like this is the first thing I put down
Oh,
was the Marcus sports fact. So, yep. So I'm gonna go with it. We're recording on January 6th. We'll go back to 2018 when Mr. Marcus Mariota was starting for the Tennessee Titans and became, I guess, the second NFL quarterback to do this, but he scored a touchdown
oh, this
off his own pass,
oh,
the
that's
pass to myself
yeah.
in his 22-21 victory over the Chiefs. And I guess it's kind of
Mm.
his fault because that's when they drafted Mahomes after, I feel like.
Yep,
So
yep.
so he started the dynasty, I guess. So thanks a lot, Marcus. If you just let him win, let Alex Smith, feel
Who
good a little bit.
knows? Who knows
Who
what would
knows?
have
Yeah,
happened if
but
Marcus doesn't catch
because
the
Marcus
pass?
wanted to say, "I want the touchdown." Yeah, he ruined the NFL for 29 other teams. So thank you, Marcus.
That's actually pretty funny to look back.
Yeah,
That
that was
game
the game that
determined the
launched
Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes into.
Crazy.
Yep.
Wow. Well, butterfly effect is real. Um, but yeah, okay. Well, Matt, it was a pretty long one. Had a lot to talk about, a lot of good stuff. Next week, it's going to be really fun to get to break down Wild Card Weekend. So looking forward to that. But in the meantime, yeah, thanks again, guys, for watching another episode. We'll be back next week. So everyone stay safe, take care. And yep, we'll be back.